The scale tool allows you to resize objects within your image. Like the other transform tools, it's got a lot of similar options. So if you come down here, first you'll need to tell it whether you're working with a layer, with a selection, or with a path. And then we've got the direction. We have either normal, which is the more intuitive, easier to use method, I think. And we also have corrective, which is the reverse, which can be useful from time to time. We have the interpolation method, which is basically just a list of methods that the computer can use to apply your effect. They sort of go in order from the least processor intensive to the most processor intensive, and the more processor intensive the method, the better the final result is in general. Cubic is kind of a good place to put it, I think. We have the clipping option. In the case of this effect, I think just adjust and clip are actually useful. I think the crop to result and crop with aspect wind up giving you the same results as these. And we'll look at those later. And then we've got the show image preview, which allows you to see the what the effect will be before you apply it. And if you turn this down, I like to turn this down a little bit so that I can actually see the effect of what I'm doing, but also see the original image underneath it. So the transparency allows you to sort of see both at the same time. The guides also gives you a number of options for adding guidelines. If you have the number of lines selected, you can change that number. It just gives you a grid. This gives you a better sense of how things are being modified. And finally, we have keep aspect. If you have this checked, it will ensure that the aspect ratio of your selection stays intact. If it's not checked, then you can wind up making things a lot taller and narrower, or fatter and shorter. A lot of times it's a good idea to have this checked. So let's take a quick look. We've got this box here, this red box with the green border and the yellow and black stripes in it. We simply go over to the corner, click and drag, and you can see that it's drawing out and it's showing me what my new image will look like when I apply this effect. We also get this dialog box that pops up that we can use if we want. If we want to dial in the exact pixels, height and width, we can do that. If we unlink it here, this link is the same as this keep aspect ratio button. So if we unlink it here, you'll see that it gets unchecked here, and this will allow you to change the aspect ratio. So we can drag it out and make it into a new rectangular shape. But if we have it locked, then when we start to move it, it will maintain that shape that it was just at. So I'm just going to reset it quick because I want to keep the aspect ratio the same, and I drag it out, and once I have it the way I like it, I can simply hit enter, and there's my new box. We can undo it and look at a couple of the options. If we use the corrective or backwards mode, what winds up happening is we wind up drawing out this reference grid, and instead of expanding our selection to fit the new grid, it basically takes the information within the grid and fits it into the original selection box. So in this case, it will actually shrink the selection. So I can hit the scale button here, and my selection has actually shrunk. We can look at the clipping. If we are in the normal mode and we select the clip option, this original selection box will remain, and anything that is grown outside of that original selection box will be clipped so that it is no longer part of the image. So if we apply this, you'll see that it stays within this original box, but the part that now falls outside of it has been clipped. These other options basically work the same as the adjust. And if we undo this and we switch back over to corrective and we set it to clip and we draw out our box, what happens is the image overall winds up being adjusted the same, but our selection box stays at the same size. So now the image within our selection box has gotten smaller, but our selection box has stayed the same whereas before the selection box shrunk in relation to the image. So this tool, the scale tool, is a great way to resize things within your image. It's a lot simpler and more intuitive than perhaps all these options make it look at first, but it's the way you can resize things.